Lucy Nolan Dilbert.
Here.
Rob Pennell.
Present.
Jenny Bronzik.
Here.
Craig Sims.
Here.
Chris Dilbert.
Here.
And Rachel Witzik is present.
Public hearings, we have none. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Public comments on the agenda? Approval of the minutes, regular minutes dated September 3rd, 2024.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented for September 3rd, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain. I was absent. No communications, correspondence, or workshop. Old business. Outdoor cafe, dining, or seating ordinance. Did anyone need more time, questions, or to review the ordinance? Any questions for John? Motion for the ordinance?
A motion to approve the outdoor cafes, dining or seating ordinance as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, doesn't this have to go to council?
Yeah, it does. We would send it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're doing?
I think council will send it back to the planning commission, if I'm not mistaken, to attach a fee.
Well, that was for the event, the events, what we had talked about.
Right.
I don't know if that's attached to this.
We will not set the fee because we don't want it in the ordinance, right? We want it to be able to adjust it without having to bring the ordinance back every time.
Okay.
So, but
So we're wanting.
we're
Planning.
also going to discuss possibly in the future working on the permit ordinance here,
Right.
possibly. But no fees in the ordinance.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, so motion was from Rob.
Would you rather have the words send it to council?
You can add that at the end if you want, for final.
Is that good, Craig?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Morgan's Auto site plan approval. Did gentlemen have anything you'd like to say, address?
No.
No? Okay, John, I'll have you speak on your review of the current site plan that we have with us.
Apologize. We received a revised site plan last month. In the site plan, it appears that they have included a designated loading area to the rear of the proposed barn. So that has been identified there. There is a circulation, but that was previously outlined as well for vehicle circulation on the site as well as for fire. The concrete sidewalk was included along the Gratiot frontage till it gets to about that drainage area where it slopes down pretty dramatically. So that was included there. In this site plan as well, it looks as if they have removed or shown that the parking spaces will be located outside of the existing right-of-way. As requested, however, there still is the requirement of having to be outside of 20 feet from the front lot line, and that's just the standard requirement for the ordinance for those front yard parking spaces. Beyond that, those were the major items that were addressed from what my review showed. And there was no further detail provided for the screening, except for the existing chain link fence along the perimeter. With no other landscape details or anything like that. So otherwise, like, nothing else has really changed from the previous review. major thing is going to be the screening has been addressed. I believe you did submit photos. So that was submitted, at least some photos were submitted, but there were no other site plan details regarding that, at least like in the plan that I saw. So that needs to be clarified as to what they're going to be providing there to meet the requirements. And then, while they did remove it out, the parking spaces out of the right of way, which is good, which is what we wanted to see. Like I said, you unfortunately cannot have parking spaces within 20 feet of the front property line. So like those parking spaces 1, 2, and 3 that are pretty much directly next to the sidewalk would have to just be kind of either shifted or taken out completely, just because that's what the ordinance requires for parking within a setback area. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know much about the site plans or whatnot. There was supposed to be the small gap that there isn't screening, that there was supposed to be arborvitaes or slats or what. There were supposed to be 3 options of whatever you guys would approve of, because the rest is already metal all the way around that you can't see through, for the pictures. I don't know how to read those, so I didn't know it wasn't there.
Yeah, no worries. In looking at the packet, like that wasn't in the packet.
Okay.
The packet shows, or the plan that was submitted shows just like the existing fence outline, and then like it shows like how you guys are moving the parking spaces and everything else. But it doesn't give us like any other detail. And then like if you look at the other pages, it shows like the topography, like how the land is like sloped for the second page. And then the third page is just like an aerial photo, like a satellite image. So like there aren't any other details specifically about like what you were just saying in it. So that wasn't in there, but yeah, if there is like a revision or something else that was supposed to be provided, like yeah, we'll definitely provide that to the commission.
Okay. Yeah, so like DTE didn't want anything tall because they want to remove the trees, but that's why we give the options to your guys' vote.
Anybody else, questions for John? Okay, so Amanda, do you have anything?
Nothing from our original site plan review letter, and nothing changed as far as engineering requirements. But again, the 2 critical items were the parking lot paving and the detention requirements, which we received the communication from Macomb County Office of Public Works that detention is not going to be required. That was back in August. And then parking, they're not proposing to change anything as far as the existing parking lot. So there's nothing for us to review.
All right,
And there's still no sidewalk on the New Haven Road side added to this.
They did show, but not only conceptually.
No, there wasn't a New Haven Road sidewalk, because that's not the property.
Yeah, they don't own that. They only show a 5-foot where they're removing the existing stalls along Gratiot.
The property ends right at the creek.
Yeah, so they would have to push their fence in to put a sidewalk across there. And that's a big concern, even more than it was for me, to have a connection. If what happens at this corner behind us happens with all those things going on over there, that this area be connectable to the school.
That's not their property. They don't have property that goes along their frontage.
No, but they have their property where, does it end at the fence line?
Yes.
Okay, then the sidewalk would be within the fence line,
If
right?
there's somebody else that owns that property, that would have the frontage on New Haven Road.
Their business has the front.
That would be like saying, because I don't have somebody next to me on a corner lot, I have to put a sidewalk in on my corner lot, even though there's a property on the other side.
So who owns the property in between the two? It's a right of way.
No, it's probably,
I'm done.
I'm done.
For the right of way.
Yes.
It's just like having a right of way in front of my house.
And the shook grade.
I talked to Amanda about this last month. I was not at the meeting, but we did discuss it. She did not think it was practical to ask for that. She said that that would be a joint financial effort. I think she mentioned MDOT, potentially county and other people, especially because of the drain and the cost involved in the going over of it. She didn't think it was, so I don't know if you want to add to that. I don't want to speak for, that was Amanda's input.
Yeah, I mean, just from that, I mean, you can probably look at this, but the grade is pretty steep there. There's a lot going on there. Personally, I mean, I don't think I would hold them to that or recommend that connection unless it was something that MDOT could do with them or the drains could work with them and try to figure out a connection, just because that is a very, I can see the benefit of having that there. However, I just think the situation is quite dramatic on that piece of land. That would be a lot to ask.
Well, I don't think they should put it per se in the drain or on the slope or take it all the way across the street, because like you said, there's a lot involved with that. But putting the sidewalk at the edge of their property line, where it's flat, and there's fencing and cars over there, then that's feasible. I certainly don't think that they should expense the whole thing all the way out to the, building a bridge or anything like that. But at the edge of where they own up to their property line, there should be a sidewalk that leads them towards the school.
So there is a
Make
sidewalk.
that turn.
Yeah, there is a sidewalk that from the driveway to the school.
Yes,
That,
I'm talking on the New Haven Road side.
The New Haven Road side that goes to the bus.
so on the New Haven side, the way that we're looking at the GIS information, what you're talking about is right on the creek bank, which is dramatically sloped this way.
Yeah, I'm saying put it at the top of the slope, away from the, so it's not a drainage issue or a,
I don't think there's enough land to do that.
we park cars up there.
Oh, behind the fence you mean?
They may have to change the fence, right? For screening purposes?
I'm really confused.
Yeah,
I think he's suggesting here. Here. Is this what you're suggesting?
Where is their property? No,
Here.
right here, on this side of the property. Here,
Yeah, but that's
not over here on the drain side or the road side, because this road is gonna get expanded one of these days.
Yeah, but we can't. That's like a trail though. That's not like that.
This is their property, and so where's the sidewalk here? So the sidewalk will twist and come along here.
I don't think that's reasonable nor feasible.
I don't even.
So then we're waiving that then, it's like you discussed, right? You'd have to waive them, because per ordinance, they're supposed to put sidewalks.
Technically, yes, they would have to ask for a waiver, because
Can
normally,
you pull our sidewalk ordinance? If you don't mind. Do you mind? I'm sorry.
Not gonna lie, I don't typically work with this part of the ordinance. Is it anything general code?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Sir?
Servet. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll send it. Do you have the ordinance over there?
yeah, look it up for them.
Anyone? Just handy. Rachel's probably got it. She's a quick. What's your question? Where is the location of the sidewalk supposed to be?
If it was 1 foot off of the easement, then that would be like right where the drain is.
Yep, that's what I was trying to explain.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, what does our ordinance say? Because I believe our ordinance specifically has it
There you go.
in a location. And
Let's see. Here's section 235-13. I'm just reading this on the fly. Let's see. This is for residential. Let's see. In all projects, a sidewalk shall be provided within the right of way on both sides of all existing and proposed streets located within the project. The requirement for sidewalks on both sides of a local street may be waived by planning commission when an acceptable and more imaginative alternative for pedestrian circulation is proposed by the developer. I wonder if that's more like a subdivision type situation again. The requirements of this section include corner closures, interior, and major road sidewalks. Okay, there you go. And then it says, yeah, the outside edge of the 5-foot sidewalk will normally be located 1 foot inside the road right of way. For mobile home parks, yeah, that doesn't apply to that one either. So that's the gist of the sidewalk ordinance as I found it. I don't know if there's something else that you would reference typically, Matt.
Yeah, same requirements, is 1 foot inside the right of way.
Okay.
Which in this case, the right of way kind of goes like meander into the drain and outside the drain, so we would be putting sidewalks into private property. We don't want to do that. It's not in the public right of way. That's the south side. On the corner itself, there's a little bit of right of way between the bank of the creek and the public right of way. And it's only a short distance. So it, I mean, I can show you on the print. It would be extremely difficult to do and would create a safety concern. Unless you close that drain or move the fence back and donate more right of way. And that's MDOT right of way, not village right of way.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, what's the pleasure of the commission?
Can we get a recap?
Yeah, what's the outstanding issues?
Yeah.
So
Screening.
Screening is the big one. It sounds like they did provide something. There were like 3 different options. We didn't get it in the application that was submitted to us to look at or consider. They did address the sidewalk along the Gratiot frontage. And they did move the parking spaces, though upon looking at this, parking spaces 1, 2, and 3 would have to be either moved or shifted back even more because they aren't, you have to be outside of 20 feet of the front property line by the off-street parking ordinance. But otherwise, like, those are the major issues, is that parking location and then the screening options that they provided us for we can get.
So the screen, sorry.
What is the parking distance from the road right now?
So right now, it's within, I mean, as currently constructed,
Yeah.
currently it's within the right of way.
Okay.
So they have to like remove that pavement because it's not allowed. And then what they're proposing is to put it completely on the parking, or within their property. However, it's still within 20 feet of their property line, the front property line. So the parking is required to be outside the first 20 feet of your front property line.
All right, so what's the distance between the proposed parking and?
So basically, if they were to,
Say eliminated 1, 2, and 3, which are probably 3-foot spots.
yeah, so I don't know if you can like see that, but this is like where the parking used to be. This is like the drive right here, and this is the building right over here. They have parking spaces, right, 1, 2, 3, and then this is the front property line, so it's directly next to it. This parking space is most likely 20 feet deep, so essentially you just eliminate those first 1, 2, 3 parking spaces, and then your first parking spot would be 4th.
Where it's currently already at?
Where it's currently already at,
Okay.
essentially, yeah.
If they eliminated 1, 2, 3, are they still within this number of parking spaces needed?
Let me look at the calculation. I believe there's ample parking at this location based on their bays, but I can double check the calculation.
And it can be behind the fence.
A lot of it is, I think There is a gate, correct, for the north side parking? There's a gate? So there would have to be some semblance of like public access for the required parking spaces for your patrons, for your clients. So like, that would have to be addressed, so like if it doesn't meet that requirement, then we would need to make sure that there's enough parking spaces for the clients based on the requirements. Let's see where it is.
Every time I've ever driven by, I never open the gate, it's open.
Yeah. Where's it? Here it is. Parking spaces. Yeah, they're required to have 20 spaces. They're providing 25, including the 3 that
So they'd go down
are
to
the
22.
incorrect locations. So even if they remove those 3, they'd still be within what they're required to have. It's just a matter of, yeah, the gate situation. Like, can their clients access the parking area that they need to get to? So.
And when it comes to the screening question, so did they provide 3 options, or we provided them with 3 options?
I think they're providing us with 3 options that we are considering, because we do have some authority to consider existing circumstances and their proposed solutions, and then we can figure out what suits our needs for the planning commission, for what we think for that site. So we can kind of like either lessen or increase the screening requirements for that location based on school and everything else. So yeah, they're providing us with 3 options.
What are the 3 options?
I forgot what were you guys providing there?
So, I guess, for the 40 feet that doesn't get screening, there was, it's the slats, I'm sorry, I always forget about those, metal, like roofing, sheets, obviously bolted nicely, or arborvitaes. And then I guess the remaining is that okay? What you see the pictures, you can't see in or out, it's solid metal already, so that's once again up to you guys.
So the 40 feet you're referring to is on the north side?
Correct.
Okay, towards the front side.
Along with grass strip frontage we would do so that you can't see in that way either.
So should we tell them which one we prefer, or?
I feel like we should here, because what's gonna happen is that somebody's gonna have to say what, yes or no to what they've done, and they're not going to have the authority to do it. So John can't say, yeah, that's the one, that's good. So I feel like we should tell John what he should say yes or no to.
Yeah, I agree with that, with the planning commission having that authority to have some type of direction given by you, collective you, would be what would probably be required in that scenario. So, yeah, picking a solution, picking to what extent we would want to see arborvitaes would be, or a fence, or whatever you guys choose to go with, and then making a motion based off of that, and then once that's all taken care of, then we can go to the next phase of the process.
So where's the 40 feet at? So we're not requiring screening to go all the way around because
there's already like a natural screening.
but that natural screening isn't on their property, right? It's on school property. So if the school took that down, there would be no screening. The screening has to be theirs, on their property. It can't be the school's weeds that they should cut down. They're crap. That should not be the screening. Screening has to be on their property or on the line. It can't be somebody else's property any more than a sidewalk, I guess. So that's the only screen that goes around is all the wild trees?
Yeah, I mean, that's the existing condition.
Is this the non-conforming property? A storage
It's
area?
a non-conforming Class A, so it was designated the Class A. So they're able to expand and everything else, which is why we're going through the site plan process. Whereas a traditional non-conforming structure would not be able to do that. But with the Class A designation, they're able to go through that, but that's what then triggers the site plan in this situation. And then, once we take action on it, then the ZBA would ultimately take a secondary action to approve it too. Because non-conforming Class A's are considered like, almost like a conditional zoning type of thing. So any type of alteration would have to also be approved by that.
So what makes it non-conforming, the storage yard?
Non-conforming is the front structure,
The setbacks.
and the setbacks of the front structure. Where the parking design, a good chunk of the parking design minus like the explicit safety issues with the right of way, so,
I have a question.
yes.
What does, okay, the way that the ordinance is written, what does this do for precedence for other properties going forward? For screening,
For screening.
like, that's my big thing. What does this do for if we want to do, somebody else comes in and what's this do for precedence?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like anything else, like, the context of the individual application has to be taken into account, right? What is the existing condition? Is it something that can be considered? If there's no good purpose for something, then that can be considered, right? Like if you're next to a national forest, I'm not going to require you to screen, So you have to take it in the context of the site. So looking at that, like I feel like I'd be more comfortable if the trees that were there were actually, let's say, completely within the property boundaries, because then it is under their control, and not necessarily on the school's control. But I mean, I can't also look past the fact that there are trees there. But
if you were to cut down the weeds, the trees are up here.
yeah, and you potentially have some gaps.
The
there.
screening is overgrowth and weeds, it's not the trees. The trees are up.
So yeah, I mean, like that is a concern, and that's been the concern the whole time. It's just like, how do we address the screening situation? I can only interpret what the ordinance says, which is, says like once the site plan is triggered, the site needs to kind of be brought up to code as fast as possible, with things that, in areas that are being affected, with like expanding the building to the rear and getting the parking more safely done, and then the screening, because it is residential in the rear. Like, so we're going to try our best to make sure that it meets the site plan requirements. And part of that, in this situation, it does require the screening. So.
John, can you
That's up to
clarify?
you guys.
I have a question. Can you clarify, let's say in a different situation, not here, that we require screening for a new development, like the one that we just looked at this afternoon.
Yeah.
Now, if they supply that on their side, and somebody develops later on the other side, there is no additional screening, but I think that would be a double screen requirement. If there is an existing screening provided by the previous development, are we required, is the next one adjacent to it, it's also required to provide screening, which is essentially a double screening?
So, let's say in that circumstance that you were saying, it's determined by the screening matrix that we have within the ordinance. In that situation, when you have two adjacent uses that are exactly the same zoning, then either no screening is required. That's primarily what it is, no screening is required. If they're two different uses, yeah, I guess like you could consider what the adjacent property has in existence for screening, but typically whatever the more intense use is provides the screening for the less intense use. So like commercial to residential. In this case, I don't know, I mean, I'm pretty sure whatever's in existence there wasn't screening provided by the school. It was just history running its course and like things growing. I don't think it was like deliberately designed for that. Whereas if it did, it probably would look different. With berms or walls or something else. Like there was a fence provided around the Morgan site. But I don't know when that was done, and there were like the slats put and everything else there, but yeah, none of that is conforming according to the ordinance that we have today. And with the site plan, like, we can only go off of what the ordinance we have today for that. But there is, like I said, there is some discretion in there. So we don't have to put like a 10-foot berm, you know, and like plant a rainforest. But something ought to be planted there, whether it's filling in gaps or cleaning up what the existing condition is or whatever it is. And that's up to the planning commission to kind of look at and figure out what they want to do in that scenario.
But it's not their job or their expense to clean up the mess that's on the school property. They just have to screen their
They
property.
have to screen their property, yeah.
Where does it need to go? Just on the north side and the east side of the property?
Pretty much, is, yeah, north and east side, the entire south portion looks like it's pretty overgrown and would be on their own property with the drain and everything else there.
Right, so there's nothing next to them. They own that property.
Yeah, it'd be primarily be the east and north.
Okay.
Can you attach a future responsibility to it, like if in the event the school clears 20 feet, now you're responsible to buffer that, see, that's where, I don't think the school's gonna work with it. You know, I don't think anybody's going out there with a weed whacker or anything, you know, but do you put that there to say down the road?
So, I mean, I think it always becomes a potential issue if you're looking at like if-then
Yeah,
statements.
yeah.
One, it takes enforcement and someone to know like what the agreement was.
Right.
And on top of that, like, I would necessarily want Morgan's Auto to then have to respond to someone else's action. Because that wouldn't necessarily be fair to them to then like to randomly now just invest, you know, $100,000 in trees because somebody else decided to cut down theirs. But that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, my question actually pertains exactly to what he just said, cutting them down. So we have a solid metal fence. You can cut down either side, you can't see through. So it is a solid metal fence. If I plant trees to an 8-foot fence that I can't put any taller trees because DTE is coming and cutting all in depth. We have power lines directly above, all the way around. So DTE just gave us a notice, talked to the township. They're cutting all the big trees down and they don't want us planting anything that will grow. So
They're just gonna come and straight cut them across the top? Is that like?
they're taking them out of the ground,
Okay,
all the way around.
then,
So for me to go and plant all new trees that you can't see from either side, I don't understand. And if you could please explain that to me, because it's a solid metal fence. So if I plant them, it's great for me to look at, but that's not really my forte to go sit there and look at trees all day.
I hate to say this, but that just actually gives me a greater concern, because now that's going to open up other parts of your fence.
You can't see, it's a solid
Oh.
metal fence.
So,
Except for that 40 feet that we,
do you have any pictures of the rest of your fence?
I gave them. And obviously,
These are the only two I have.
there's 8
We
pictures.
had those pictures from
Yeah, all
last
those
week.
pictures.
Yeah,
Oh, I never, let me, did everybody get them?
I put them in your, well, we looked at them last week, I put them in your box.
I can go grab. John, I can go grab. I just want to get an understanding of why I would put bushes or trees
So I
if you
think-
can't see it.
I think,
Right.
if I may speak out of turn here too, I think if there's a situation where DT is explicitly saying there's a potential conflict with our utility poles, therefore we will not permit trees to be planted here.
Right.
That obviously needs to be taken into consideration, because we can't then require you to plant trees if DT's not allowed to do it. However, if that is the case, once again, some letter or something, or if it's some contact person that told you this would be useful. And then of these solutions that you provided, is making sure that then the rest of your fence line is completely not see-through. It has to be completely screened, it has to be made sure it's tall enough that you're storing all your stuff lower than the fence line. All those aspects of it need to be shored up and cleaned up in that situation. So,
No wonder you're not.
Now, of course,
When you say it's a solid metal fence, you're talking like it's a privacy fence, where you can't
It's
see through it at
a
all?
privacy fence with metal slats from bottom to top, and it's been that way forever. I mean, I wish we could take a field trip and you guys could actually know what you're talking, like, not that you don't know what you're talking about, but like, you don't know the property, you have never seen it obviously, so we're having a conversation of,
from what I've seen in the past, there's slats woven into.
that's only for the 40 feet.
Right.
The rest is literally metal fence.
is
bottom
it
to
like the
top.
metal roof sheeting, like,
No, like solid, I don't even, I mean,
Yeah.
thick fence that'll never dissipate.
I mean, what? It was a custom made, or, I mean, what would we see it otherwise? I mean, I can't buy it at Home Depot, right?
Yeah, I'm confused by, let's say,
The
solid.
federal government had a grant back in the 60s. 3/4 of the fence, if you're talking about the creek line, that's federal government fence. They put that up. That has the slats in it. Okay, and after that, it turns into solid sheets. And then when it comes around to the north side, it's solid sheets as well as slats with the same type of fencing.
Google Street View though shows that it's just, that it's open chain link.
Open chain link with
In the
slats.
front, you're saying the back.
Yeah, we're trying to go.
yeah, it's the back
That
that,
won't let me go back.
Glad I wasted $100 on pictures for you guys, huh?
And I mean, we're not talking about telling them to plant trees anyway. We would be talking about screening the fence, which would be arborvitae's or not trees that grow 30 feet in the air, like the wires, right? We don't have any requirement for trees, do we? We just want screening, and it can be landscape or otherwise.
did they give you a time frame on that?
They were coming to come down. I don't know, they were here at the time. I told them to come here because I was like, they're telling me to plant trees, you're telling me you're removing them, so will you go over there? So
Right.
they talked to Rebecca.
Let me see. She took pictures.
So from aerial
Is this
views,
40 feet
we can
apart?
see those poles, and typically DTE had a 10-foot easement along the poles. And these poles run along the north and east side. So,
Like right at the corner of the fence.
yeah, and then the corner goes to the school. So it makes sense what he's saying. DTE owns that strip.
So, in the situation of a light industrial site, and the adjacent parcel is single family, or single family 1, or single family 2. There are 3 options. There's a landform buffer, a buffer strip, or a screen wall or fence. Landform buffer is a 3-foot berm with a 2-foot crown. It's 20 feet wide, and then you would have an assortment of deciduous and evergreen trees, so those grow taller. And then 4 shrubs for every 30 linear feet.
Did you say 20 feet wide?
Yeah.
Is the buffer strip, yeah, it's a 20-foot wide buffer. So, which is also the setback requirement for any outdoor storage, has to be 20 feet away from your property boundaries. So, wherever the fence is, 20 feet from that is where you can start storing stuff. So, that's the landform buffer. The buffer strip is a 5-foot visual barrier, also 20 feet wide, with the same assortment of trees and shrubs. But this is for every 15 feet, so it's a thicker landscape area. The screen wall is a 6-foot or up to 8-foot tall and heavy industrial, so this is light industrial. A 6-foot tall screen wall with 8 inches of brick thickness or decorative concrete is like how thick it has to be. Then you have a 5-foot green belt adjacent to the screen wall for its entire length. So you would still once again have trees and shrubs and everything else that you have to plant on the other side of the fence. So that's what the 3 standards are for this situation. And then, planning commission can, approve something different than that with their discretion, if there's something that is an appropriate solution. Whether it's a taller, solid fence, or some other solution that can be done, especially in the context of DTE and their utility situation, then you can kind of go about it that way and consider the options from there. So, because, if you're going to require deciduous tree to be planted, then it's going to be cut down again. It's kind of pointless. So, but an alternative needs to be found to fix the gaps and to fix some of the screening issues. Like the slats, I don't know if that's necessarily it's an existing condition, but you can still see kind of through it. It's not completely obscured. The metal existing fence may suffice for what's existing, but can the gaps be shored up and cleaned up? That would be something that should be considered. But yeah, that's what the ordinance requires, and it's what we're kind of dealing with here.
So this property is currently zoned light industrial?
Light industrial is the historical zoning of it, and the current zoning of it is light industrial.
And does that match our future use plan?
I don't believe so. Yeah, I don't have the, so my computer decided to restart. Bless you. But I don't believe that it's what our master land use plan has. However, it was granted the Class A.
Because
as long
it's
as-
historical?
Huh?
For historical reasons, did you say?
No, I didn't say it was granted.
They applied
It was
for it,
just that
so
they
that
applied for it,
they
the
could
council considered it, and they granted the Class A. Bless you.
Future land use has it as commercial office.
Commercial office. Doing this thing here. Either one time crash.
So if it's out of the zoning, should we even be encouraging or letting them invest money? Well, he's saying it's supposed to be general business.
No, our future land use plan is
Future land use is future. If it's currently zoned as light
just
industrial.
like industrial. They have a Class A designation. They have the ability to apply for a site plan application and expansion of their use. Yeah, I mean, as long as they're compliant with our requirements and everything else, like, they can expand upon their, and invest in their property.
Can
That's
you
what the
explain
Class A.
Class A to me, because I don't know what that term means.
Yeah, sorry. This crashed on me, so it's rebooting.
Oh,
Class A is something where, is a tool within the zoning ordinance when there's a site that has a non-conforming structure. right? Encroaches on the setbacks, maybe it's too tall, or whatever it is, whatever dimensionally is not, conforming to what the ordinance requires. It's not a conforming structure. However, if the village looks at that site and says, okay, we see it as a good investment or a facility that serves a purpose, but they are not conforming to the structure, we can designate it as a Class A. That allows them to continue to exist as they are, but now gives them the ability to, if they want to invest and alter their structure, they can, without having to just be stuck where they're at, within the confines of where they're at. However, if they do expand, then they need to follow the site plan process and make sure that whatever they do is compliant for that part of the expansion. You can't really change the structure that exists, but whatever they build after, whatever areas they alter because of it, including things that are severely not conforming and stuff, if you can improve that, you have to improve it within the site plan process. So, which is why we've required them to remove the parking spaces from the right-of-way, which is why we've looked at making sure it's compliant with the fire turn radiuses and the circulatory patterns. Why we looked at the sidewalk situation, and we're imposing that on them too to make sure they put the sidewalk in. So those are all because of the site plan powers and because of this process. So, and now the last part is really, it's the screening situation. And have to consider the DTE situation, as well as what they're currently providing, and to see if there's a feasible solution that can still get the desired outcome of having a screened outdoor storage area, which is what we would require for anyone else. Because at the end of the day, it's a storage area, it's an outdoor storage area. We don't want that to be visible from the streets, we don't want it to be visible from the school, and we want it to be secure. We don't want people to be able to easily come in or hop the fence or whatever it is and just get into the yard. Secured and screened is what we're looking for.
She doesn't have them
So,
in there, not that I can find. So, okay, I don't know what I missed.
So their proposal is, they have 3 options listed on the top.
Okay,
It says install additional fence slats, see detail. Option 2, metal sheeting fence. And option 3, install 4-foot high arborvitae, 4-foot on site. Which we know that option 3 is no longer
right.
is an option. So I guess, I don't know if the plan commission would like to just give them a direction, which option is acceptable and
Yeah.
be done with it.
Is the motion in order?
Yeah, what's your pleasure? The board, or the commission?
Would arborvitaes be considered trees or bushes?
I believe arborvitae would be considered a tree.
True.
Is what I would think.
And they can grow tall on,
Yeah, unless they're cut at the top, but.
yeah, because I want a piece of property that having 30-foot arborvitae on it.
They would be able
Are those evergreen? I mean,
to. Yeah. Yeah.
so they will obscure all the time.
Yeah, but you would trim them so they don't become 30. That's kind of the whole point of any landscape that we require is people should keep it up after the day after they plant it,
Where
versus
is the
letting
power
it die.
lines?
which most
Where are the
people-
power lines on the property?
I have,
Do you want to look at a picture? I mean, it's along the whole fence line, but I have pictures.
From the aerial figure, they show along the north side and the east side.
Do you have your pictures of the back of the fence? Can I see those?
Of course.
I don't know, I can't see it in this area.
Thanks, Matt.
So there's like 4 pictures left of it, I believe, right?
Don't scroll too far.
I've seen some bathroom remodel.
No naked picture.
No.
Can you see the metal fence in there?
Rach, did you want these or you? Sorry, never mind.
You're fine.
Oh, is this the metal sheeting we're talking about?
That's the solid.
That's theirs, that's the, I don't think they could mimic that. That's the stuff that Mr. Fowler spoke about.
I don't know if anybody could have over the fence there.
Can you show Chris too? Are you good, Chris? Do you want to see?
I've seen it.
Oh.
I've lived there all my life. I walked that property. So I know it.
Liz, did you want to see?
I feel the same.
Okay.
It's been there, building's been there longer than I've been here.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the board? Or the commission?
I'd like to make a motion that, that they remove parking spots 1, 2, and 3 to satisfy the right-of-way setback, and that we allow them to complete the slatting on the north side chain link fence. As approval for their preliminary site plan.
I would add the front side to that.
The north and west side.
Mm-hmm.
The west side is along Gratiot, right?
North is along the school, right?
Yes.
So the west would be facing Gratiot.
No, the east, the north and the east.
No. North and
North and
west.
west.
North and west, okay.
North and west, yeah.
So you're referring to just like the regular green side? Is there a second for that, actually?
Second.
With the removal of parking spots 1, 2, and 3, does that, just because I don't have an aerial view, does that require more sidewalk placement, or is that considered sidewalk? Like, is the sidewalk in front of that?
Yes.
Okay, that's,
Yes.
Yeah, it won't be touched by the removal of 1, 2, and 3.
okay.
That would be most likely that scenario,
Oh, I see it.
lawn,
Okay.
grass, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Madam Chair,
Yes.
just before it goes to either approval or denial, the notes on the site plan, just make sure that there are certain notes referencing Shelby Township and Longstaff Drain. I think your engineer just copied over from a different project. So in your motion, if it's going to get approved, I would just add a note to, under the general notes, remove all non-New Haven related unit notes or references.
Are you good adding that, Chris, to your motion?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
That should have been something that's done, that should have been done already.
Lucy, are you good with that? Yes. Okay, do you need clarity on anything else, John, going forward with this?
No, I think the conditions are appropriate for that 1, 2, and 3. Everything else that Chris stated in the motion.
Okay, and Sir Matt, do you need clarity on anything else going forward,
No, thank you.
or included in the motion? Rob?
I have a question on the plan. So this concrete sidewalk, the 5 foot, now, when we were talking before, does that cement have to go across the driveway for continuation? But it's not per se written in this plan.
Yeah, we've had that conversation because the asphalt from the school and the asphalt for the driveway, if I'm not mistaken, that suffices?
Yeah, as long as it's designated sidewalk.
So does it have to be marked at all, or is it just the blacktop?
So the site plan does not specify,
That's what I am asking, because there's nothing specified
yeah,
there.
normally site plan does not specify. It's during the engineering submittal
Okay, so at a later stage, that's when that will, if that's an issue, then that's when that's addressed.
What's right, Chris?
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear this, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just talking to somebody.
Oh,
Correct.
That would be marking the walkway on the asphalt.
Correct. They will have to submit for MDOT permit to construct that or designate that as a sidewalk. MDOT will give them all the restrictions and what they want to see. They own that right away.
Okay.
And they may say, no, we don't want it right away. So it's all up to the jurisdictional agency.
Okay.
In this
As soon as
case,
we talked
it's
about it,
MDOT.
the plan didn't show any different.
Correct. But as a site plan, it's a conceptual story. There's no construction details should be included in the site plan stage, which is fine in this case.
okay.
I just had a question for Chris about this motion. When you say slats for the fence, what do you mean? Do you mean to try to mimic what they have on the other fences as close as possible, or just those aluminum things that we?
Because there's those vinyl slats on that partially on that side already.
Partially, yes. They're green, they're 2 inches, they exactly fit the fence.
So they go through the chain link, they're
Yeah.
woven through the chain.
The green weave, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we through.
Okay.
They're vertical, right?
No,
No, they're underneath.
Okay, I guess, so, everybody's good on the motion? Okay, roll call.
Chris Gilbert,
yes.
Lucy Nolandover,
Yes.
Rob Pennell,
No.
Genevieve Bronzik,
No.
Craig Sims,
No.
and Rachel Witzik is a yes.
Now, where do we go from here? That's why you put a motion on the table.
This is weird.
Yeah,
Does anyone else have another motion? Anybody else have any comments?
What was the sheeting?
The sheeting is what they have already, like what we looked at. It was like roof sheeting is what you described for the sheeting, right? Like tin roof sheeting across.
Just my only question, and of course I don't expect anybody to answer this, is the screening, it seems like the screening is the major issue.
I think, I'll answer it. I think, for me, the concern, and unfortunately, my even bigger concern is what gets exposed when the trees come down. Like, I don't know, like, right now, we see this, okay, and thank you for sharing, like, we see what's on the other side. What's on the side that everybody's gonna see? Like, nobody really sees what's on the other side, okay, of their property. What's gonna be what everybody sees? So when you're leaving a football game and you look over to the right, what are you gonna see? Okay, are you gonna, you're gonna see, like, this metal fence, all right, like, right now, to be honest, I don't mind what I see when I look over there because of the trees and such. It's okay. I mean, it's not ideal, it's not like the white picket fence or anything, but now I'm a little bit more concerned as to what happens when these trees come down. But what happens when these trees come down is the exact conversation that we had. What happens if the school decides that they want to take them down? It's actually not going to be the school, it's going to be DPE. So,
Well, even at that, what if we're trying to enforce cleaning up overgrowth and weeds in somebody's property? And they go, well, why don't they gotta clean up their overgrowth?
and that's
their mess
my
in
other
the
big
school?
concern is precedence.
You keep,
We're allowing, like, the overgrowth to be that, is that acceptable for other people? Where do we, or is that something that maybe for someone else we call code enforcement? And
So
that's not
you
meant
should-
disrespectfully, please. So it's
So
just,
we should send code enforcement to the school.
what's that?
So we should send code enforcement to the school.
I'm not saying that, I'm saying, what happens when? What happens when that's your next door neighbor?
Well, I mean, I'll address it when that happens. So
Okay, but you don't have a standing because we've allowed it to happen.
You certainly have a standing, because I truly believe that each property, each application has its own standing. You know, I think too often we get caught up on precedent, and I think if the person down the road doesn't have the same zoning, doesn't have Class A,
I'm
doesn't
gonna
have,
bring us back to one of our first meetings with you, okay? And you stood before us, and I agree with you, 110%. What about this guy down the road? What about that guy down the road? This guy's doing this guy's doing that. He stood before us,
he sure did.
talking about
And I was
what-
there, and he should never worry about the next guy. He should only worry
But
about
that's
himself.
what people use as their bar. That's,
Okay?
so when
They should
we are
only worry about
sitting,
themselves.
when we are sitting here as a body and saying that's an acceptable bar, and somebody else is going to complain about it and say, oh, what about that guy down the road? Well, the New Hampshire Planning Commission said it was perfect.
So our decisions are gonna be based on what if.
No, it's not what if.
It's not
the
what if,
ordinance.
it's-
Following the ordinance.
But the ordinance says that we have the ability to grant slats or metal or
To lessen the requirement.
to lessen the requirement, okay? So if the school takes down their trees, which they're not, they
No, I
haven't,
don't think they will.
they haven't in 55 years,
I was
so.
gonna say, I remember one being taken down and there was such a ruckus raised.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
But then how do you enforce from New Haven Road to 26 Mile, which the only screening in that whole section is weeds?
It's,
They're not before us with a site plan.
Well, no, but
They're-
code enforcement should go to them.
they're not before
them, go
us.
to
They are
the
not
school.
before us.
I know what you're saying,
Mortgage is before
but
us.
we're okaying,
We are dealing with one parcel,
yes.
one site plan application.
Within
We're not
his
worried about
property line.
26 and New Haven Road. We're not worried about Amvet Drive.
But then all the screening should be within his property line, not outside his property line. That's what really what the precedence of this would be is,
Well, Chris proposed the slats to be the screen, which would negate any argument for the trees being there or not being there.
Exactly.
and if those weeds are removed, is the screening that's being provided already, I mean, I don't know what kind of shape it's in. Is it rust color? Is it need to be painted or sanded, or is it up to, because I can't see it because it's behind the bushes at this point. But is that brought up when it's visible to, to be cleaned up maintenance-wise?
And what if it is?
That's what I'm asking, if that's part of
Well,
what,
there's nothing we can do about it if it is. It's there. It just is what it is.
It is what it is. You know, we're shooting for that perfect situation, and it doesn't exist. It simply does not exist.
well, I don't disagree with that comment, but I think that we let so much go by, and then when it actually comes before us, it doesn't seem like we should continue to build that into the design.
We have a history of allowing a lot of things to take place, Rob.
I know.
And you
It's
were
like
a part of
for 20
that.
years.
And this was new construction that you guys didn't get right.
Which one are you talking about?
Go back when you were, fully involved in council and whatnot, okay, that you quite often refer to, okay? This was new construction that we didn't get right, okay? This is an existing building that we're trying to
Allow them to expand their business.
make it as good as we can possibly and reasonably, okay?
Oh, yes, very much.
So, I'm all about updating my building, right? I mean, you guys have seen.
Yeah.
He's so worried about the screening on the other side of my fence. That's not my fence. The inside that you've seen is what you're requesting me to do. So I don't understand why we're so worried about the outside. That's the school's The school side, correct?
Well, the fence is still yours though.
Yeah, the fence is ours, and you're bringing up the schools, you're calling it weeds, but technically it's all brush. It's been brush for 40 years, I don't know, since 69, 50 years.
They're removing 3
And
trees.
the school created that for themselves. That's their berm. Like you said, you want to have a berm against another berm? You can't, because the schools already has a berm there. It's their property, it's their berm.
I agree, that's what I'm saying, but it's.
If they don't
it's
take
not-
care of it, and it looks like it does, it's not Ballard or Morgan.
Absolutely not.
Well, that's kind of the way it's going.
It's not your problem. I'm saying the screening needs to be within your property lines, not depending on
What's
somebody
being
else's.
said is if they clear all of that.
I understand.
Not,
And they should be cited by.
just not holding you against you guys or anything, it's if they do that.
And I guess like not to wade into these waters because I don't want to, but I guess seeing it from the outside, you can't both use the screening on the school property for your argument and then also use it against your argument. I'm saying both sides here. So it's like you can't say like, well, what if they clear it out? Then it's not our problem, but then also use that to your advantage to say why you don't need to put a fence.
It's a solid fence.
I know, but what I'm saying is you can't cite the other person's landscaping in your favor and then say you have no control over that landscaping. What I'm saying is you can't use the same argument on both sides, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
So that's all I'm saying, is like, that's what I'm seeing.
And of course, I don't think they're using that east side, both ways. That's where the solid fence is at, okay? But by the same token, there's members here who are saying, what if the school takes their, decides that they want to take some of this bond money and clear all that out, which I doubt they'll do, okay? But because it's part of that road being put in, I mean, that whole back area was a hot mess prior to that rear exit being constructed, 10 years ago, whatever it was.
And then my question is, if that happened, whatever it looks like behind that, does the fence have to be, whatever you put up, you need to maintain and keep painted or whatever. It has to be kept in good repair, right?
Absolutely.
So if that happened, that would be an expense you may have to incur because that wasn't there.
Yeah.
But
That would be a code enforcement.
I mean, if the school decides to clear that out and we find out that we got a solid fence back there that's rusted and holes in it or whatever, yeah, they're responsible to maintain and repair it. Yeah, sure.
That's what I'm asking, is if we are part of this condoning whatever it looks like back there. That's what I'm trying to differentiate with that question is, whatever is there, I I certainly wouldn't expect them to do anything to it in its current condition because it would just get eaten away by all the weeds and everything else going on there anyways. I'm just saying, we're not making that part of the site plan where that's acceptable.
option 2 is kind of what was brought about, right? That's
I'm sorry.
option 2 on the screening is,
The slats, you mean?
no, that's option 1. Option 2 is the metal fencing, which exists. We're finishing it. That's something we're, so that option 2 is the screening.
So
It's already there.
It's been discussed.
I like
It's been-
that more, the reason why I voted no is because of the slats. Those
So if
things
we're all
break,
okay with
they
that,
crack, they
let's go home and eat
fall
dinner.
off, and they never get replaced. And code enforcement's not gonna come out because there's 2 or 3 4-inch gaps in your fence.
Right.
I think the aluminum sheeting will hold up a lot longer if it's held properly.
That gets a picture.
That's the picture that we saw. It's like
So
the
it's-
roof sheet.
I mean, you look at metal roofs, if it's a green metal roof, it's a green metal roof 50 years from now.
Right.
So,
Sounds like you want to make a motion.
I don't know, I was just giving my opinion. Brian wants to go home.
Well, then, if I may, Madam Chair,
But it is what's there.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to offer another motion
Sure.
that we eliminate parking spots 1, 2, and 3. And the north side screening be, do we want to specify the exact material, like aluminum?
Probably because John's
Metal.
gonna have to,
Some type of, solid metal
Metal.
or metal,
That's going to withstand elements and whatnot?
yeah. That's consistent with the rest of their,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And we'll also include the caveat that Samantha was talking about, whatever.
removal of what community?
Removal of Shelby Township.
Shelby Township.
Township or.
And did you get the, what,
The
the
north
front
side
of,
and the west side.
north and west side?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a
So
second?
everything on the first motion, except for changing the slats to
The slats to the metal.
metal screen.
Is that possible if it's a moving fence?
Should be.
Mechanics.
Yeah, it should.
Figure it out!
They can make anything work.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Second it?
Okay, roll call.
Chris Over,
Yes.
Lucy Noldova,
Yes.
Rob Pennell,
No.
Genevieve Bronzik,
No.
Craig Sims.
Yes.
And Rachel Woods is yes.
There you go. You're good.
Okay.
You're good. So you'll work with John and Sir Med on the remaining things and just getting the fence okay and stuff with them.
Do you guys have any type of, like, step checklist, like, process list? I was told that there was something made in order years ago, and that it's kind of supposed to follow a process, but I've yet to see how the process works or any steps.
For what
So like this is,
specifically?
obviously there was other things I did before this, for
Right.
zoning. Now this is planning, I believe buildings next. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
So
you're still
because
gonna,
it's a non-conforming class A, ZBA has to approve the site, or basically approve the same thing that we just approved, as part of the process. And then after that, then you're going through the final site plan process, like everything else.
Where does the final site plan go?
Then we have to review their final designs and everything else that we have to go through, and then for building and everything else.
so can you get them on ZBA next?
Yeah, some of the application fees. Okay, hold on, let me.
So if I think I understood this correctly, your next step is to go to ZBA with the sheet metal, the metal sheeting detail,
Okay.
and the building plans details. Everything has to be approved as a final site plan with all the construction details? Or not the construction?
No, basically what they have submitted with the parking spaces removed, and then, which is the note about the fence that will be provided. So essentially what we do with just the ZBA as well, because that's what the Class A process is. And then after that, it's just typical process through the building department, everything else they need to do.
So no construction plans, just an updated final site plan with the metal sheeting. Once you go through that, you submit to the building department for your expansion and give us a copy of MDOT permit for those 4 spots, the sidewalk, and you're good.
Is there any way I can get an email of what you guys are requesting left? Like the steps or what's required?
I'll have Becky send you one tomorrow.
That would be great.
Good?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like I try to record it and then listen to it later and it's like, I end up forgetting something or not seeing something.
Okay, yeah, I'll have Becky, I'll make sure, like, we get it all checked
And
for you.
I believe you had one, outside of the drainage, you had one more concern. I try to work ahead instead of waiting to that one.
I don't think so, because,
Was it the parking then, maybe?
It was, I think it was just the parking.
yeah,
Okay.
if you're not repaving, on site.
So we're good. Okay.
There's nothing for us to look at. If you're not doing a detention time, there's nothing for us.
Okay, so we're good.
So only a copy of the MDOT permit, that's all we need.
Okay, thank you. Should have brought dinner for you.
Sorry. Okay, so any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so, new business, we have none. Planners report, not, public comments on non-agenda items? No. Call from the table? Rob?
Are we gonna discuss these drawings that we were, put in our box today?
No,
No.
those are next month.
Okay, so we're just looking at them now to give you our input on them, to the two of you for next meeting?
Becky just had them,
They were
she
delivered,
distributed them, and so everybody
we'll
would
look
have
at them and they'll be on the agenda next month.
I mean, I really wish we got a little bit more of our questions and answers kind of before. I mean, they've been here a few times. I mean, you know, I hate to see it so discussed that, you know, if we could head things off at the pass, I guess, is what I'm thinking of.
So like more workshops?
Yeah, before we pull the customer in here and the property owner, and then, you know, we're still going back and forth.
Yes.
So to answer your comment, Rob, we did adopt a new procedure. When we get any site plans submitted to the village, planner, engineer, fire, and planning chair, plus building, we meet and then we review the plans together before we submit it to you. And there's even a step before that we offer to the applicant, and that's up to the applicant to take advantage of or not, is what we call a pre-application meeting. So they come in with their conceptual drawings, and it's the same team that I just mentioned. We sit down on the table, we just had 2 today. We sit down on the table, look at their preliminary plans, and then we give them our review comments in general terms in advance. So they know what to expect when they come in and submit a full site plan to the planning commission.
So then this is pre those sit downs, so we can submit our issues or questions to you, our professionals, to take to those meetings then?
Of course.
Okay, that's what that seems like much.
Didn't you
But
already
those
do
meetings
this?
already occurred for that one. for that
This one already occurred.
This one already occurred, the
Yeah.
pre-application meeting, but the planning, the site plan review meeting has not occurred. I believe it's next week or sometime, we haven't set the time yet. So we sit down and review it and make all the comments, so we're all on the same page.
So what stage is behind us then?
This one is just pre-application.
It's done the pre-application or hasn't done the pre-application?
This actually was the second meeting, second pre-app meeting that we had with them.
Okay.
They were happy about certain items, and they were not happy about other items.
It wasn't the street names, was it?
No.
Oh, you're talking about this?
Yes.
Yeah, he's talking about this one.
Yeah, this one.
I mean, I haven't looked at this at all. I've looked at that other one a bit, and they do have some issues.
The pre-app meetings, they have not
I
submitted a
think I
site.
sent it to you.
This is a site plan submittal.
Okay.
It's the
But
one
you're
with
still-
the mixed use houses or rentals and strip. No, I was not in it.
Unless it was while I was on vacation and just did this.
Did anybody else get it? Like, cause I have had some problems. You didn't get it either?
I haven't got anything from you.
Nobody got it then.
That's because it's not up to planning commission stage yet. We don't.
No, I sent it out because I definitely sent it out.
No, I haven't.
I'm just saying,
This-
our input could be heard sooner than later. It just seems to solve
Yeah.
the problem.
Oh, sure? Yeah,
Yeah, it was sent out.
yeah, I did get that. Yeah, because I thought it was interesting. What do you want?
Hey, Brian, do we still have our own server that the email sits
You are
on?
on
Or is it
there.
on?
It's all Microsoft.
It's on like,
It was on September 13th.
probably why I don't get here.
I mean, if you think it'd be more useful, we could have, like on these ones especially, like a meeting beforehand,
Well, I mean, these are
half
big
hour workshop or
projects.
something before.
Like these.
Yeah,
And I hate
Or not.
to do it all like we just did for them.
right.
I mean,
Well, if it's submitted for a site plan review and the planning commission vote, they're not gonna have enough time, even if we present them with all these questions. Right now, they're submitted for November meeting?
Correct. They'd still get them before November meeting then.
Yeah, but they're, based on everybody's schedule, let's say we meet in a week or two, and get those comments back to the applicant, they only, technically, if they resubmit, they'll be pushed back to December, because we're not gonna have enough time to review it again.
But at least it gives them the time to go, yeah, that's acceptable, we're not gonna fight them on that. Or, you know, or they can come to the meeting and say, absolutely not, no way. And at least at that point, you know, things have been discussed further. I'm just trying to give people more time to get
John?
things right before they get.
I'm gonna let John speak.
so I mean, like Samantha was saying, the pre-app meeting should hopefully avoid a lot of hiccups, because we're able to communicate what they are expecting to provide in your site plan. Our review letters are typically given to them before you get to the meeting. So they should have answers to our objections or concerns there. And then obviously this forum is designed to have this feedback loop. The pre-app meeting is designed to hopefully speed everything up so we don't have the issues and the barriers and the blockades that we have. Let's say over here when we have to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
But that's what this body is kind of designed for too, is to hash through those things that still need to be kind of worked out through the applicant. So if it has to be delayed a month, kind of is what it is. Like, it has to take both parties to cooperate and make the adjustments, make the site plan amendments to work through it. And there's sometimes things that we can give direction on, but ultimately the planning commission is going to have to give that direct feedback to them that we can't necessarily get on the front of. Like this screening situation. Like, I couldn't tell them to do anything else other than what you guys just did. And that's an inevitable back and forth that's going to delay people a month. But that's where if you want it to go smoother, then you do the pre-app meetings, you read the letters, you know, and that's on everyone's front. So, yeah.
All right. Good. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So move.
At 8:22. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.